Hi, Robin here, and welcome back to Toadstool Tarot. I'm quite excited to share with you a deck I only recently discovered and may become my soul deck. I probably need a few days to work with it, but I have a very strong reaction to this deck. It is the Little Monsters Tarot, illustrated by Peony Coin Archer. Comes in a little tuck box. I'm not big on the tuck boxes, but I mean, she makes these. I'm going to read you on the back of the box. There's a little sticker glued on the back of the box. The Little Monsters Tarot, conceived by Peony Coin Archer, is a full 78-card tarot deck in the tradition of the Rider-Waite, illustrated in a quirky, cute, and minimalist style. These little monsters afford a gentle and creative reinterpretation of the age-old themes of the tarot. This deck is printed at a small family press in Minnesota and assembled with much care in Peony's kitchen. For more information about this deck, visit peonyarcher.com. So, this is a handmade deck, but it doesn't look like it. There's a lot of care, time and care put into this deck. You can order a book with it, but the book is a much larger size, and I didn't order it, and it cost extra. I can't remember what I paid for these. I think it was in the neighborhood of $40 or something, 30 to 45, somewhere around there. I saw this in another walkthrough, or a couple other walkthroughs, one of them at Lisa of Supportive Tarot, and these cards have this oval formatted imagery. Now what she did was she trimmed her cards, so she has a deck of oval cards. I'm not going to do that. I'll probably mess it up, and I think I'd find it harder to control the cards if they were anything less than a rectangle. They're a little bit oversized. They're not huge, but let me find a card here that I can show you as a comparison, size comparison to a regular tarot. They are a little bit taller and a little wider. I'd say, quarter of an inch taller and half an inch or maybe a little more wider. The cardstock is good. It's stiff but not overly stiff. It's flexible and it has a lovely feel to it. I would say almost waxy, but like slippery waxy. I think they're laminated, but I'm not sure. They're not overly glossy. And the coloring, it's black line ink drawings, very fine ink drawings on white card. The card is almost an off-white, like an ivory. And they remind me of this folk art called scrimshaw, which some of you might be familiar with, which takes bone and ivory and carves or etches an image into it and then fills it with some kind of a dark color so that the recessed area shows black line work on ivory or bone. I think it's still being done. They probably aren't allowed to use ivory anymore. They probably use beef bones or something. Anyway, so yeah, these are the backs of the cards. It's an oval with a little sort of constellation, I guess. Stars. They're stars. My camera is not going to show these at their best. These are little 5-pointed stars, but You probably can't see here. They're so tiny. And some people have described this deck as cute. I would describe it could be cute, but I would describe it as delicate. Very delicate, fine line art and very thoughtful imagery. This is the Fool. It's storming outside. You can probably hear the rain coming down. Sort of appropriate somehow for this deck in a way. Some of it has a kind of a moody quality or melancholy that I really like. This is the Magician. I'm not sure where I'm going to store these because I probably am not going to keep them in the box. I don't like tuck boxes, and I can't find a tin large enough to house them, so I'm going to keep looking to see if I can find a tin online. I did find this. I can't remember what I bought this for. It's like a padded zippered bag. I can't remember what it was designed for, but I've had it for years, and actually they fit okay in here for now. Back to the cards. High Priestess. Some of these, there's one in particular coming up. Here's the Empress. Those are not clawed feet or toenails. I believe that is the moon that she's sort of sitting on, a sliver of moon. Here's the Emperor. I'm hoping that some of the fine line work translates here so you can appreciate it. These seem sort of like an otherworldly race of, or various races of strange little folks in various colors and colors and shapes and sizes. The Lovers. The Chariot. I love the Chariot. It's sort of, I assume there's some kind of creature under that blanket, but it's almost like a flying carpet. Strength. This one's a little bit hard to see, but there's a black-faced figure here with her arm around this creature, and these are the feet sticking out behind. So she's sort of hugging this lion-esque sort of monster, a figure. The Hermit. I may hold these images for you a little bit longer than usual because there's so much detail. I want you to have the time to take it all in. And my hands are a little shaky, which doesn't help matters. Justice. I just noticed these cards aren't numbered either. At least the majors aren't. We'll see when we get to the minors. The Hanged Man. Some people will miss the color. I actually really like this as a black and white deck. Not sure how I would feel. I would feel sort of more ordinary, I think, if it had color. There's so many color decks out there and so few black and white now that at this point the black and white seems in some ways more special. I also, she did a great job. I actually can tell she used a corner cutter to trim the corners on these. You can tell if you look really closely at the corners, but they're not ragged or anything, and she did a great job. And I appreciate the amount of work, personal work, that personal touch that went into them. the Devil, the Tower. There's a couple of them, this is one of them, that remind me of the ink work of Edward Gorey, if you're familiar with Edward Gorey's books and artwork. The Star, the Moon is someone facing away, and at first I thought it was an insect, but there's a sort of the whole range of moon phases down the back of the cloak. The Sun, I sort of like that the Sun, the Moon, and the Star are all wearing cloaks of the stars, the moon phases, and the sun. Interesting. Judgment. And the World. And she's holding a world, although I don't think it's Earth. You can't quite make out particular continents. You can kind of see them in the shadows there, but they're not well defined as the continents we're familiar with. Oh, here's the Ace of Arrows. This was the other one, I think, that reminded me of Edward Gorey's fine line ink work. I'm just tripping over my tongue today. Two of Arrows. I like the little font too. And speaking of no numbers, the numbers are here, but they're spelled out, they're written out. 3. 4. I think most of these I will be able to read intuitively. Some of them are very distinctly reminiscent of Rider-Waite. For instance, here's the 6 of Arrows, which would be the 6 of Swords, which we all know of, the boat filled with swords traveling away. 7 of Arrows. So yeah, it hadn't actually occurred to me that there was a change in the terminology. No swords, they're arrows instead of swords, which is interesting, I think. Arrows works well with air, I think. More so than swords. They travel through the air. Child of Arrows instead of the Page. Knight of Arrows. Some of these are sort of elongated bird-like creatures, which also remind me of, is it the Dark Crystal or Labyrinth? Or it's one of those Jim Henson things. And then we have Queen of Arrows. And King of Arrows. Next we have Ace of Wands. This is very, very Edward Gorey to me. Two of Wands. 3, 4. This is a really nice 4 of Wands, I think. 5. This kind of reminds me of some of the elongated figures in the Whispering Spirits tarot, which is akin to the Monst tarot, which originally I confused with the Little Monsters deck, but they are a world of difference. 6 of Wands. Some bird-like creatures. 7. 8. 9. Not elaborate background scenes, mostly characters, but they are doing things that are very familiar to us from Rider-Waite. This is the 10 of Wands. Then we have the Child. The Knight. I don't know if this is meant to be a pun on the Knight. The Knight seems to have little moons on its gown, and also there's seem to be 4 arms and 4 legs, which would go with a horse as a knight, I guess, except that's not a horse. Curious. Then Queen of Wands. And King of Wands. Here's another one that looks like it's right out of a gory storybook. A finely detailed and ornamental cup or bowl or a vase. Two of Cups. Three. 4. 5. 6. 'These are a very delicate hand drew these. I am really marveling over Peony's artwork. And they do have a cuteness, but I wouldn't say they're silly. There's a sort of a delicate seriousness to them, and a joy as well. Child of Cups. Knight. Queen. King. Ace of Coins. very familiar 2 of coins or pentacles. 3. I'm not really sure about the significance of the egg-like or oval shape on the fronts and backs. I was just wondering how I would feel if that weren't there, if it was just these images on a white rectangle. There is something about them being enclosed or banded with some kind of a border. But I don't know. What do you think? Do the ovals disturb you, or do they help in lieu of a border? There's also the possibility they could make black on the outside with a white oval. There'd be black cards with little vignettes in them of the figures. You know, if they ever do a reprint or updated version, maybe something to consider. I don't know. I don't have the book, so I don't know, what thought process went into that. And I'm not sure that the book says. There's a downloadable version you can order for cheaper than the printed version. The printed one's only $10. I think the downloadable's $5, but I wasn't sure that I'd particularly need it. I don't usually like to rely on books to read unless the cards are so puzzling that I really need help. And these don't look like they are to me. I don't think there's any here that would make me turn to a book for answers. Child of Coins. Knight of Coins. Again, very Jim Henson-ish or Henson-esque. Queen of Coins. The face reminds me a little bit of the Studio Ghibli anime. Ghibli. And the King of Coins. So that's it. That's the whole deck. The Little Monsters Tarot from Peony Coin Archer. It's a substantially thick deck. I haven't shuffled it yet. It feels like it will shuffle okay. I don't riffle shuffle, and I think overhand will be very nice. And it feels so special to me, I don't want to risk any damage, so I will be overhand shuffling this deck. I'm a lousy riffle shuffler anyway, so. Anyway, I'm curious to know what you think, and I may come back to this in the future because I have a feeling this might turn into my soul deck, but it's probably too soon to commit to that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you all again real soon.